How are you doing? So, in this video, I'm going to be talking of how in the Bible, this Bible has our African ancestors. And this is all throughout the Bible. But then, when we actually go through, like when you just open the Bible, like the first page, basically, this is where we're going to start. And this is chapter 2. And it says, and the first is Pison, that is which compasses the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. So this is speaking of the place where the Garden of Eden was, and there is a river called Pison in Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There's bdellium and onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon, which the same encompasses the whole land of Ethiopia. So now, when we see this in this verse, like it speaks about Ethiopia, this verse here in Genesis, it's speaking about the continent that became a country. But when we actually look at the past of this word, Ethiopia, it actually first meant the continent. So when people referred to the continent of Africa, when they were referring to it, they were referring to Ethiopia. And the Ethiopians had the Ethiopians in the north and the Ethiopians in the south. So what used to happen was they would just say the whole land is Ethiopia. That's in the beginning. Until it was changed recently from a time it was called Nubia, and then the other time it was called Abyssinia. But then Ethiopia is a recent name. But Ethiopia still represents the country. So what is interesting about it is that Ethiopia is first mentioned in this passage in the first pages. So when we actually analyze this from a theological point of view, they say that the first mention, when something is first mentioned in the Bible, it has the first principal mention. So when love is first mentioned, for example, it's first mentioned in the context where Abraham is about to sacrifice his son. It says, like, take the son that you love. This is the first time that the word love is mentioned. And then the first time that Hebrew is mentioned, it's mentioned in the description of Abraham. He was the first Hebrew. Before that, they were just called Jews. Or before that, they were just called Shem, children of Shem. And then after that, Heba, and then Hebrew from the first mention. But the first mention of the first mention of any country whatsoever is Ethiopia. So here is something else here. I'll just show you something. This is from a book that has different information about Western history. But here is a map. So in this map here, right, this is, I can't really see it as clearly as I would like. It's not. Alright, so this place here, this should be Egypt, right? But this place and those places, these areas are the ones that are mentioned in the Bible as being the place for the Garden of Eden. So I couldn't really see it right there. But then here in this map here, it says that the Libyans are here, which is very important because the word Libya, this is where we get the word that was later on used for Put, and then Put. So the children of Noah is Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and then Put is called Libya. So Libya was right in Egypt. And now when we go through the Bible, we've already seen Ethiopia is first mentioned, but when we go through the Bible, we see it keeps on mentioning Egypt, and Egypt is in Africa, as you could see in the map. And in any map, Egypt is in Africa. Although recently, as people have developed new maps, it's now being called Middle East. But all of the influences are Ethiopian, they're also Nubian, they're also African. And then when we look at the word Libya, we're talking about Put. And then when we talk about Put, we're talking about the people in the furthest areas of Africa. And that's where you see, that's where they place them in Egypt. So when the Bible is speaking of Ethiopia, that's the first country it mentions. It's interesting that Ethiopia is also the country, or it's actually a continent, but then when it was now named a country, it's the only country that wasn't even colonized. So when we look into it, the reason why it wasn't colonized is because of God's plan. But when we look into it, we see now Ethiopia also is a country that is Christian and it wasn't colonized. So its Christian influence is not like other countries whereby they were given the Bible, like now worship us. But Ethiopia has churches that were carved into mountains, that churches were part of their culture, the Christian church. And then you also see the mention of Ethiopia in the book of Acts, the eunuch who first comes. So we're talking about Ethiopia being mentioned in Genesis. Now Ethiopia is being mentioned in Acts, the Ethiopian eunuch who comes and then he's baptized. That Ethiopian eunuch was reading scrolls of Isaiah, meaning that he already had the Bible in Ethiopia. And Ethiopia, as we already mentioned, it's a name that is used for a continent. So it was the continent where even the Libyans were. And Libya is the one we use for put. So you see in this map, they actually just put it right there in Egypt. So it's a very interesting thing. So there are a lot of instances, but then in the Bible, when we go to Proverbs 68, like we've already seen, no, Psalm 68, and it's verse 28. Is it 28? No, 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hand to God. It mentions Egypt, it mentions Ethiopia. So it mentions that Nubia, that area. And that's first mentioned in the Bible. So it's a very interesting thing. And in the Bible, there's even more to it. So in the book, the Bible is amazing. There's more detail to that. So you can just get it. And I think it would be just easier if I just send it to the WhatsApp. It's just easier for everybody, even me. But since you made it this far, I do have a treat. And then this is something I wrote. Okay, so I'm just going to read this. This is called, I'm going to pick a name. Okay, but let's hear it. I wonder what the elders of Mapungubwe would say if they saw Africa today. Our history is a mystery, and our future is a fractured piece of a peace we used to have. They divided the kingdoms and gave us borders to trade in bad goods that could, would, or should support us. The cradle of mankind with the kind of men that are not so kind. Only the fittest survive, but the whole world wants to abort us. They won't even support us, but they can't live a single day without us. But we're just dust with no justice. It's just what life is. Our life is priceless, but their hearts have turned cold for gold. Ice and chains with spice and slaves. They covered the continent and coveted everything. Cape to Cairo, they made their idols vital. Now money is nothing funny. Dollar for dollar like dummies. A doll for a jar of clay with priceless items. They raided the places where ISIS resided, taking obelisks on ships past straits and narrow islands. Poverty is the price for our souls being sold. It wasn't right. Poverty is the price of our souls being sold. It wasn't right. Name your price for a man and a sack of rice. Should it be bothering me that the African infrastructure has all the roads that lead to the port of the sea? Unfortunately, we forgot to get on our knees or read. Unfortunately, we forgot to get on our knees or reach for a book and give it a read. The Bible gave me a reason to breathe. The way it keeps me transforming is surprising to me. It never said all the things that they made it to mean. It's a perfect reflection of me. Read it. Read and read by the king. They're also in love with gold, but wheresoever did God go? Did we ever miss his glow? I gotta know. How we chose when we're so broke? Where did the wisdom fade? And will it ricochet back our way? Whatever happened to the real true Ubuntu? I am me through you. Who will create when we build through hate? It's gonna be a day of peace when we let the Africans' shackles free. Give them freedom to breathe, freedom to be me. Freedom's a need. We need to be free. Free in his will. Freedom until. Yeah. I think I'll call it freedom until. Yeah, so thank you. I also enjoyed sharing that and writing that. So enjoy it and read the Bible and find out more about it. It has so many tidbits and information about our ancestors, and it's so amazing. Thank you so much.